All right, I'm going to demonstrate what we call the lip flip with any kind of neurotoxin. We're using Dysport on Jamie, but you can do it with any of the neurotoxins. The key here is you want to keep this really light. And the goal with the product is it's going to soften the muscle of the upper lip. And so it's great for smokers' lines, which she doesn't have because she's young, but the smokers' lines. And go ahead and pucker. And so the key thing here is, again, we're not treating the lines, we're treating the muscle, all right? And so what this is gonna do is by weakening this muscle, it's gonna let her lip just float like that and give her a little bit more show, all right? Now, what's important to know about this is with any neurotoxin, you need to keep your toxins symmetric. And what I mean by that is people will come in and they will say to you, well, I only have a deep line on this side, so I just want you to put product over here. People are cheap. Don't do that, okay? If you put product on one side and not the other, you can create slight asymmetries. And even a slight asymmetry is noticeable to the patient. So if this side of their lip floats up a little bit from injecting their smoker line and this side doesn't, they're going to come back and they're going to say, my lip doesn't match anymore. So even if their complaint is unilateral, your product must be bilateral and it must be equal. The only exception to that rule is if somebody has, let's say you're doing eyebrows and you're going to give a little bit of an eyebrow lift and create more show. If when you examine that person and they have one eyebrow that sits a little lower than the other, so they're asymmetric at baseline, you can alter the amount of your product on purpose to create more or less lift on the side that doesn't match. So whatever side you like the arch better, if this brow sat a little lower, right, you could add more product to try to elevate that brow a little bit more. So again, if you're trying to maintain symmetry or create symmetry, you want to keep your product symmetric. That's just basic neurotoxin 101. Go ahead and pucker for me, Jane. Okay, so when she puckers, you can clearly see how she recruits this muscle. And so again, using this as her midline here, whatever product I put on one side, I'm also gonna put on the other. And so into the, go ahead, pucker a little bit bigger. Good, into the belly of the muscle, not into the line. I'm gonna put just a tiny bit of product here and here. And then she actually is kind of flat. A lot of people are a little bit more volumized out here, but I'm gonna put product here and again symmetric over here. And these are literally just tiny little increments. So I've got, if it's Botox, I'm using 1 unit of Botox. If it's Dysport, that means it's 3 units of Dysport. So in these little syringes, I have 1 unit of product drawn up. And that's what I like individual syringes for the lip, especially because if you put 4 units in here and you're pushing, it's really hard to stop right at the appropriate point. You can end up with 2 units in one spot, 1 unit in another spot. It's kind of a mess. So 1 unit in each syringe, and go ahead and pucker again. I'm gonna feel the muscle between my fingers. Now she can relax because I've got the muscle between my fingers. And as I pop through the dermis and into the muscle, I feel the release of the resistance. And now I know I'm in the muscle, and I inject that 1 unit. And out. Pucker again for me. Again, I'm going to grab that muscle between my fingers. Go ahead and relax. And right into that muscle. When I pop through that dermis, I can feel that I'm in there. I can inject.
Feels really good.
Same thing on the other side. Go ahead and pucker for me. And relax. I pop through. The resistance goes away. And I inject. And last one. You can relax. I'm going to pop through. Sorry, I know that one hurts a little bit more. Okay. And that is how you do the lip flip. And so what'll happen over the next couple of weeks is this will just ever so slightly float upward. And she has gorgeous lips anyway, but she'll have a little bit more show without pumping any product in here. A couple things that are important about this. So neurotoxin, what tissue?
No.
Neurotoxin doesn't do anything to the actual, I was gonna say it doesn't do anything to the actual position. It floats the lip upward. It doesn't do anything to your sensation. all right? But with stuff around the mouth, people will come in and tell you, I don't like how this feels. And here's what goes on with that is, so your brain knows where your lips are, right? We all have proprioception, so we have the ability to tell where we are in space. It's how we can walk downstairs and know when our feet are going to hit the stairs without actually looking at the stairs. Just like you have proprioception, touch your nose, touch your finger, all that stuff. So the brain knows where your lips are supposed to be. When you let this lip float upward, it changes some of the initiation of movement around the mouth. And people come in and say, it feels a little funny. So I go over that with people ahead of time, that your mouth may feel like it's moving funny, but it's not moving funny. It's just that your brain doesn't know where your lip is anymore. Huh?
When you spit.
Yeah. In addition, because it weakens this upper lip, the major complaints we hear about the lip flip are, I can't pucker, all right? I can't pucker well enough. I can't drink through a straw. I can't say words that start with the letter F because of that movement of your mouth. I've had a couple people complain they can't give a good blowjob. Just to put it out there, okay? Not really an appropriate conversation, but people say weird things to you, right? So those are the kinds of things that you need to know about. And I simply tell people, if you don't like how this feels, it's gonna wear off. It's gonna take 3 months, but it's gonna wear off, and you just don't have to do it again. The other thing that people complain about is, so when we treat for the corners, and on the Jamie's young and she has these gorgeous lips, but if you look at my mouth compared to hers, the corners of my mouth are starting to turn down just a little bit at baseline, because this is a difference between a 30-something mouth and a 50-something mouth, all right? So if you treat for the, if you go back to my face for a minute, if you treat for the downward pull here, what we're using is we're using a little bit of product. So this muscle here, your depressor muscle, go ahead and open your mouth, is responsible for pulling your bottom lip down, all right? And it originates and inserts from the corner of the mouth to the angle of the jaw. I showed that to you. If you go back to the video about the muscles of the face, you'll see there is this vertical muscle that runs right through here. We put a little bit of product right at the angle of the jaw, 2 units of Botox. And what it does is it softens this muscle just enough that it allows the corner of the mouth to float up a little bit. Now that would be a weird change on her, but it would be a beautiful change on me, where this doesn't float down, it sits even, or it floats up a little bit. It's really easy to do, okay? So just 2 units in these angles here. The thing that people will complain about with that is they will say to you, I don't feel like I can smile big enough. And you'll say to them, okay, smile, and they go, and they give you this big goofy smile. So it turns out that the initiation of a smile, the very first thing you do when you smile, and it's almost subconscious, is the corner of your mouth floats up, and then you go into smile slowly, James. So the corners of her mouth float up. Now give a big smile with teeth, and then you go to your smile. So it turns out that if the corner of your mouth is already floated up, again, because of proprioception, that when you go to smile, you no longer have to initiate that upward pull. And so even though you're smiling totally normally, it doesn't feel like you're smiling as big as you normally do. Some women are not bothered by that at all. Some women absolutely hate it. So that's another thing where if you're gonna start doing that muscle, you wanna have that conversation with people ahead of time and say, you may not love how this feels, even though it's not really supposed to do anything to how it feels. And if you don't like it, we just won't do it again. So those are the tricks for around the mouth. And we'll move on to the next video.